Hello. Welcome to the second episode of Thinking Out Loud, a podcast series by Gabby. In this episode, I will be speaking in a mix of Burmese and English because that's the most comfortable I feel today. Before making this recording, I was actually talking to my friend about how I really cannot think of a specific topic for this new episode. You might notice that this episode really does not have a title to it because I had a few topics in mind, but I wasn't really feeling any of them. And when I told that to my friend, what she replied me was really interesting. And it also kind of hit me hard because it literally goes like this. She said, quote unquote, you mentioned in our first podcast that you like to ramble, you like to talk. Do you really need a topic to do that? And she also said, I do not think your followers also see you as a motivational kind of speaker who would talk for like 3 minutes and deliver a major takeaway that would change their lives. What you're doing is just a tiny little podcast that may or may not appear on their timelines. So you can just talk about anything and everything. Just keep on yapping. End quote. That's exactly what she said. And yeah, I think she is 100% true. Because I also mentioned in the first episode that doing this podcast is something out of my comfort zone. And that I'm not gonna force myself to do it. And I also started this podcast as a side project where I can have a fun time and also connect with people, practice my English, But when I actually plan out the episodes, I got overwhelmed out of nowhere. I wasn't satisfied with the titles, the scripts, anything. I was having a hard time actually. Also, even though I did not mention here that I will update on Fridays, it was like my personal deadline. And last week, I was working on a topic called decluttering, and it was almost like 80% done. But then I wanted to add more insights, more quotes, more takeaways, and it got really overwhelming, which is why I couldn't finish it. So that was when I started to look into root causes because I felt like I had some bigger issues to be feeling like this. The first thing I found is it might be because I started adding titles to each of the episodes. I planned for like 6 episodes. And I think that triggers my brain to think of specific topics, specific takeaways, specific quotes, instead of just hopping on and talk about whatever that comes to mind, like I'm doing right now. And doing so, it deviates from my initial objectives, which I promised to myself that I would never force myself. I will see what I can do with it, and I will only be expanding my comfort zone. So it deviates from my objectives. That's the first thing I noticed. And the second thing is that I have always been this hard on myself. ဒါက Gabby ဘာကိုပြောချင်တာလဲဆိုတော့တခါခါဆိုရင်ပေါ့နော် Gabby ပြောပါတယ်ကိုပေါ်မှာကိုထားတဲ့ expectation အရင်များလို့ ਨੇ ပေါ့နော်ဒါဒီ this is just a mini example တခြား case တွေမှာဆိုရင်လည်းဒီလိုဖြစ်ခဲ့ဘူးရတယ် Gabby တတိထားမိရပေါ့နော်ကို because most of the time the line is blurry and I cannot see where my expectations land. For example, I met a exam to and I get 80 marks. I could have gotten 95 marks doing so that's something I struggle with, and also one of the traits I need to work on. Gabby purely everything happens for a reason. Da it's gonna lead to eventually a good thing, no? In actuality, deep thought process, acceptance, mention expectation alignment issue so that's also another thing, and these are just a few things I noticed myself. I still need a lot of inner walks. At the same time, I'm glad that I'm at this level of emotional maturity. Like it's like tracing piece by piece ပေါ့ကိုစိတ်ထဲမှာရှိတဲ့စိတ်ပိုင်းတစ်ခုစီကို assess လုပ်ပြီးတော့မှဘယ်နေရာမှာ improve လုပ်ရလဲဘယ်နေရာမှာ heal ဖြစ်ဖို့လိုတာလဲ grief လား identifying the emotions is also very difficult ဆိုတော့ဒါကိုလုပ်နိုင်တာကကို proud ဖြစ်ဖို့ကောင်းတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒါအဲကြောင့်မလို့ဒီ episode မှာပေါ့နော် Gabby that episode လို့ပြောနေပေမဲ့I'm just self-reflecting လုပ်နေပြီးတော့ another self-reminder ပေါ့နော်Gabby အမြဲတမ်းကြားဘူးပါတယ် to not let perfection get in the way of making progress Gabby the end result ကိုပဲအမြဲမျှော်ကြည့်ပြီးတော့ဒီ journey တစ်ခုလုံးကို enjoy မလုပ်ဖြစ်တာများတယ်ပေါ့နော်ငါဒီလိုတော့လုပ်ရမှာဒီလိုတော့ဖြစ်ရမှာဆိုပြီးတော့တွေးလိုက်ကြိုတွေးတာရဲများတယ်အဲကြောင့်မလို့ဒီ process ကိုဒီ progress and process ကို enjoy မလုပ်နိုင်တာများတယ်ပေါ့နော် this is something I definitely need to work on ဆိုတော့ကို realize ပို့ဖြစ်သွားတယ်ပေါ့ဒီ mini example လေးကနေပြီးတော့အဲကြောင့်မလို့ I thinkဒီလို moments တွေပေါ့နော်ဒီလိုကို pressure ပေးမိတဲ့ moments တွေဒီ doubt ဝင်မိတဲ့ moments တွေဆိုတာရှိမှာပဲပေါ့နော် Gabby ဆိုရင် for example ဒီမှာဒီလိုဖြစ်တယ်တခြား bigger issues in my life မှာလည်းဖြစ်နေလားဆိုတာကိုပြန်ပြီးတော့ reflect လုပ်လို့ရသွားတယ်ပေါ့ဒါပေမဲ့ I'm sure it's not gonna be like this every day but it only gets better and better and better ဒါတော့တကယ်ကိုယုံထားမယ်ဟာပေါ့နော်အများကြီးဒီလိုဖြစ်နေမှာမဟုတ်ဘူးကိုတစ်ခုလုံးနေရဆိုရင်ဒီလုံးနေတဲ့အရာပေါ်မှာပဲတိချာအယုံစိုက်အားထည့်ပြီးတော့ work on လုပ်သွားရဲဆိုရင် aim လုပ်ထားတဲ့ goal တစ်ခုကိုတော့ရောက်မှာပဲပေါ့နော် that's something you have to keep in mind no matter how hard things get အဲ့ဒါမှပဲ Gabby တို့ဒီရှေ့ကိုဆက်ပြီးတော့ရှောင်းနိုင်မယ်လို့ထင်တယ်ပေါ့နော် and then ဒါပြောနေတယ် Gabby တော်တော်လေးများသွားပြီပေါ့ Gabby တော့ဒီ episode ကိုလည်း Gabby က title မပေးထားဘူးဆိုတော့ it's almost like just a reminder to myself အဲ့လိုပုံစံလေးပေါ့နော်အဲ့လိုပုံစံလေးပဲ Gabby ပြောလိုက်ပါမယ်ဒီနောက်ပိုင်း episode တွေကတော့ I already have a few things in mind ဒီဟာတွေကိုပဲအရင် pressure မထားဘဲနဲ့နည်းနည်းပို့ပြီးတော့ fun and comforting just being myself talking about whatever that comes to my mind ပုံစံမျိုးလေးနဲ့ပဲ Gabby episode တစ်လေးကိုတစ်ချက် release လုပ်ပေးပါမယ် so thank you guys for tuning in hope you guys have a great rest of the day bye bye